Here are some pictures of my trip to South Africa. Went there with Habitat for a build in Cape Town, and then we moved on to Thorny Bush Game Preserve in Northeast Africa for a safari. Spent the first week in Cape Town doing the build with 20 other members. We used to go out to dinner pretty much as a group every night, various restaurants in Cape Town and elsewhere. Sometimes we would stroll around and take in Cape Town, great city, a lot of things to do. One day we did a tour down the Cape by bus, all 20 of us. We ended up at Cape Point, which is right adjacent to the Cape of Good Hope. Never thought I'd make it to the Cape of Good Hope. That was really spectacular. After a week in Cape Town, got on a plane, took a 2.5-hour trip to Thorny Bush Game Preserve. You can see the plane that we took. 18 out of 20 of us on the group did this trip. It was about a 45-minute ride from the airport to Thorny Bush. These guys check you at the gate, but they also check for poachers on the perimeter of the park. This is how it got the name Thorny Bush. These bushes are all over the place. We got to our lodge. Lodge was fantastic. The rooms were as nice as could be. The common area here where you could sit had Wi-Fi. There's an open bar. 3 meals a day plus coffee before the safari and tea in the afternoon. The rooms were luxurious. Mosquito netting, but I didn't really feel much in the way of mosquitoes. We would have 2 safaris a day, for each around 3 hours, get up around 5 o'clock. These are the vehicles we went in. Had 6 of us in our vehicle, plus our Nick, the driver and guide, and Vusi, the tracker. They were great guys. Vusi would find the animals for us, and Nick would get the vehicle to them. Nick usually did most of the talking to the group of us to tell us what we were seeing and what we would expect. Sometimes they would get out of the vehicle and go off looking for the animals by foot. These are a lot of the trails, but we would go off trail into the bushes looking for the animals. We'd get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, start a safari for about 3 hours, come back, and then in the evening we would go out for a safari for about 3 hours. Vusi would look for tracks. Here's a lion track in some mud by a stream bed. We would get up close and personal with these animals. They would be like within 5 feet of our vehicle. We found these lions at night. This lion had a pride of 4 or 5 females. He would keep track of them, would not let any other males get close to his pride. These are 3 of his females. We found them the next day. They didn't like being around us too much. They would wander off. Springtime brings babies. These are 2 of the cubs. There were leopards in this game preserve. We found this one having a drink of water, and then a little nap. Nap did not last long. And you can see how this leopard blends with the vegetation. I thought maybe we were going to see a kill, but this one was stalking something, but then just stopped. Like I said, we'd be very close. This thing could be right next to our vehicle. At first, it made me very nervous having these animals around here, but Nick told us that as long as we didn't stand up in the vehicle, these animals, while they knew there was a human being around, could not tell exactly what we were in the vehicle. So the big rule was stay seated. these Cape buffalo, they have these little birds that eat the insects and all that get on them. Even though the Cape buffaloes are very ugly, babies are pretty cute. And young calves like to jump around and have fun. You can see all the Cape buffalo nearby. They're supposed to be really mean. There were hippos in the game preserve. I never saw them out of the water. Here's a mother, father, and a little baby. You can see the baby disappeared for a while underwater, and then after a couple more minutes would pop up again. This is as close as I got to see the extent of a hippo. These poor animals, the wildebeest, they're everywhere. I just kind of consider them to be lion food. The lions love to track them down and make a good meal out of them. They're fast, but you can tell they're not really big and powerful. Warthogs are ugly, but kind of funny looking. They would come out of the woods, grab something to eat, check us out. This mother would go back and forth checking on our little ones to make sure that we weren't going to do anything nasty to them. Love the giraffes. We came around this bend, and here is this guy up at this top of the hill. There are numerous giraffes in the game preserve. They're very curious. They check you out, but don't really seem too concerned that you are there. Really strange looking animals. Love the elephants. There are a number of elephant herds in this game preserve. I had this one elephant that walked right by me. If I had stuck out my elbow, I would have hit the poor thing right in the ribs. This is what they do to the trees. They do kill a lot of trees. They just strip that bark. You can see how close we get to them. This was a herd. This guy came out and he gave some kind of signal or whatever. And the next thing you know, this whole herd of elephants comes storming out of these woods and follows him up this stream bed. There's some rhinoceroses. These are white rhinoceroses. Had a little baby. This is a mother that was guarding the baby. You can see that tusk. Here's the little guy. Nick said this baby was probably only a week or so old. The little guy would not leave the mother. And for good reason. Nasty things happen to animals when they're by themselves. Besides the big animals, every turn you made there was something else to look at, from little lizards to antelope to impalas to eagles, turtles, vultures, herds of impalas. They're like lion food too. Don't know what kind of antelope this one was. Spiders were everywhere. We get off the road and kind of like have to go through all these spider webs. Zebras, there are a lot of zebras there, but they're a little bit shy and they'll run away from you. It was a fantastic trip. These guys were great. Safari was great. The people I was with on the tour, we would get together in the safari. We had a fantastic time. All things have to come to an end. So we flew from Thornybush to Johannesburg, from Johannesburg to Atlanta, Atlanta to Washington. There were 6 of us on the 16-point-hour flight from Atlanta. Here we are, on to DC. Great trip, a lot of fun. If you get a chance to go on a safari, take it.